Welcome to our new Take Me Home Huey Zoom series. And this morning I've invited Fred Bell, who is the vice chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum, and he was very instrumental in this project. When I first heard about it from Fred, the 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War, I knew I wanted to be a part of it, and you were really a catalyst, Fred.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, you and I had a kind of a shared vision. We were looking at that point, the museum was in the process of building the Miles hangar, if you remember, which was going to house our Korea Vietnam exhibits. And we went through the arduous task of trying to find a Huey helicopter, which we both know was not easy initially. And that's really how it started, was just what kind of a memorial were we going to do as part of that effort. And that's, you've taken it to such an incredible fruition on what you've done. I have to tell you, I mean, you've exceeded anything I ever thought we would ever do with that artifact. So hats off to you. You're a true visionary.
Well, thank you. It had to evolve, So when I was, when you said, Steve, I know you like making art out of found objects, and maybe you could do something for us that could move around sculpturally rather than something that goes on the wall. I said, well, what do you have? And we went out to look at those. I think I got in one of your golf carts, went out with Greg and looked in one of those shipping containers. A bunch of old radios and wires, and didn't get too excited. I wanted something really gnarly. Give me a Huey, but because you told me about the 50th commemoration and said, well, maybe you can do something that relates. So immediately I was looking for whatever, but there was no Huey helicopter. But out of the corner of my eye, I did see a Bell Jet Ranger that you had that had been stripped out. You sold everything off, as you should. There were still some wires in there, dried up hornet's nests and everything.
Yeah, that was a Scout, or Jet Ranger Scout, that actually, by the way, it has Vietnam livery on it, which is, believe it or not. Yeah, I said, hey, why not try this? And your vision that came out of that was something out of it. Always reminded me, you remember the Dr. Strangelove where he gets on the bomb and rides the bomb and he's ride him cowboy, and he rides out of that piece reminded me of seeing some cowboy on the back of that thing. Incredibly creative vision, and it was a Yardbird.
Yeah, when I saw it, I thought, immediately I thought, yippee-i-yo, here we go. Dad's saddle will fit there where that engine, the void was and everything. And I said, what are you going to do with this piece? And you said, well, we're doing as much as we can. I think we stripped everything out, but now we just have the fuselage, and we'll probably just take it to a junkyard. And I said, oh, no, you won't.
Yeah, no, you did a fantastic job with it. It's come back to the museum as we have a number of your pieces, and we lovingly protect it.
So, leaving your museum that day, I had two helicopters in my mind. This junk one that you had right there, and that I was interested in doing something with, a whimsical piece. Now, and then also trying to find a Huey.
I agree. The Huey, that was really the first mobile war, and the Huey became such an effective tool to be able to move men and material around. It really became the symbol of the war. And also you and I both know the heroism that revolved around that particular piece of equipment, in getting people out with medevacs and the combat things like that, was really never recognized. One of the, I missed the Vietnam War. I was too young, whether that's a good or a bad thing. I missed it. And it wasn't until I started actually doing the research on the hangar and we started looking at the artifacts, it really started to understand that the folks that were involved in that were never really properly recognized. And that struck me, and you really tapped into that.
Well, and that's what the commemoration was all about. And I think you explained explained that it was a at the time you said the commemoration was a proclamation that was really signed by the President of the United States, who was Barack Obama at the time, and the
Yes.
National Defense Department to come up with an initiative that could work for all around the United States to honor these veterans that really never got a welcome home.
No, and the thing that you were able to do, we're a little limited in that we can interpret history. We have to be careful that we don't get creative too much with that interpretation. We have to show the equipment. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about his context and things of that nature. But you can see that Huey sitting behind you. You were able to tap into all of the other cultural things, which actually is so much better because it makes the artifact a little more alive.
You take a chance when you do these projects. I'd never done a commemorative piece before. Never done a piece this large before or this serious. So it all had to evolve. And the cool thing was working right there at the museum in the pop-up tent, it offered the opportunity to meet some of these veterans that came through and reassured me that they thought I was on the right trail, because really I knew I only had one chance to get it right. Otherwise, I was really fearful that being an artist, that I could do something that would maybe offend someone by them not totally understanding where I was going. And that's the last thing that I wanted to do. But because of that environment, I was able to gain the confidence, which really worked out.
Yeah, I think that you really did. And one of the difficult things I do is about 40 memorials a year, roughly, for veterans from all the conflicts and services. And until you kind of are involved in that and realize the impacts on the families and the pride involved and what they did and everything, it's difficult when you see an airplane sitting on a pedestal. It's difficult to understand. I always tell people the airplanes are important, how fast they went are important, and everything else, but the people are the important part of that. And I think that's what you tapped into, and you touched on it. Those emotions, even the Vietnam War or World War II or Korea, for those people that were involved in it, they're still like yesterday. I mean, it's very vivid. And Vietnam was maybe even more so because of the fact that they weren't recognized when they came back, and people felt there's a lot of heroism and sacrifice and human drama that went into that never was given closure. And I think your piece does that.
Thank you. I think what also helped is, even though I didn't go to Vietnam, I served in the Michigan Army National Guard during that period of time. We weren't called up, but of course it was very fresh with everybody. Everyone was frightened that they were going to go off to Vietnam, and a lot of people just didn't even know where it was on the map. But having served gave me some insight, I think, into relating to what these soldiers went through, even though I wasn't there.
That particular piece, there's actually a loss of life associated with that airframe, and there was sacrifice there, and that makes that all the more relevant and important. As a museum, I can tell you, Steve, we and it's more because we continue to fly, is we stay away from loss of life. airplanes. You know, we consider them, if they're someplace, we consider them, you know, war graves and stuff like that. In this case, this piece was available. It was not being interpreted. And so the sacrifice that those men made on that airframe would never have been commemorated or known about had you not done what you did. So although you've never done a commemorative artwork before, as you said, I think you nailed it.
Well, thank you. It continues to honor those that had served, and it's become such a touchstone for these vets that come. It's just a pleasure to see, to be able to continue with different initiatives that keep it in the front of everyone's eyes. And your facility here has made it, it's terrific to be able to have it at the Air Museum.
We have 71 airframes now. Having it here for me and having it come home is, as it was created here, as you said, is especially rewarding. You know, when we talked about that and we wanted to come back here, the piece for us means, you know, it means a lot to us, and having it in the collection is extremely important. And thank you for allowing us to be able to continue to take care of it and make sure that thousands of people every year will be able to enjoy it.
Thank you for talking to me today, and we'll be posting these Zoom talks in the weeks ahead. So make sure people listening that you check out our Facebook page and come and visit Take Me Home Huey at the Palm Springs Air Museum. Again, thank you so much, Fred. And
my pleasure. Anytime.